I'm San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg. I am a Trinity University alum, and I want you to know about my passion for these two vibrant communities. My alma mater is now a nationally recognized liberal arts university, offering fully integrated arts, humanities, STEM, and professional programs. Grounded in the liberal arts, Trinity graduates students who think critically, act meaningfully, and contribute confidently throughout their careers. As for San Antonio, Trinity is an oasis in the heart of a city that serves as a cultural bridge to the Americas. We are a diverse community that values inclusion and welcomes intellectual curiosity and spirited debate. We're a city that challenges convention and welcomes new ideas. Great things are happening at Trinity University, in San Antonio, and through all our connections to our multicultural world. Join me in being part of this exciting moment.
Our great week of basketball continues here in San Antonio, Texas, and tonight we have yet another top 20 matchup with the Puget Sound Loggers in town to face the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor Crusaders. It's a neutral game here on Tiger Network, but we are excited to bring it to you. I'm Brian Yanselson, thrilled to be back. We'll be joined in a little bit by Josh Mochigemba. And it is just about time for a tip-off in the Alamo City, and it'll go to the Loggers, and they hold on to it. That is Jordan Reverman who gets the offense going for Puget Sound. First possession for the Loggers, currently in the hands of Sophie Nilsson. Shot clock down to 15, and the ball knocked away by Peyton Hicks. It'll stay with Puget Sound. UMHB fans at home may have tuned in last night to see them fall to Trinity, the number 4 team as of last night, but now they are number 3. And the Tigers were able to pull off a big-time victory over their rival Mary Hardin-Baylor, but the Crew looking to respond tonight as they battle yet another tough team. Really solid matchups that we have in San Antonio. And a turnover here for Mary Hardin-Baylor, as Roseboro couldn't hold on to that one. Two teams that are very excited to face one another. Got to talk to both coaches ahead of this matchup, and we'll be bringing you some stories that they've both provided. Very excited to always have good content for you, and it should be a fun one tonight. A pass to no one there, but before that, a turnover going to be forced by Mary Hardin-Baylor. The 3-second violation called on the Loggers, so Roseboro will bring it in. And look what we have for Puget Sound, employing a press. And have to imagine Mary Hardin-Baylor very tired of seeing a press after they saw it all last night. Trinity not stopping their press throughout, and Puget Sound getting a stop here. Katie Minahan over to the corner. Now driving is Kennedy Brown. She pops, not able to hit it. And the rebound goes to Roseboro. Going quickly here is Ariana Roseboro. Loses control. Who's going to get it on the floor? Puget Sound will. Here comes Minahan. Minahan has space, and Minahan can't quite finish. The board collected by Fox, and here come the Crew the other way. Catalina Cortez, a newly inserted piece to the starting lineup. She came off the bench last night, now in the starting rotation for Coach Mark Moorfield and the Crusaders. She'll get a shot in the corner here and connects with it from deep. So Catalina Cortez scored just 2 points yesterday, but had 5 assists and 3 rebounds. And Coach Moorfield choosing to go to her over J.C. Briscoe in the starting 5. So far, paying off, just 1 bucket, but good to see Cortez with a good start. Puget Sound backing down defensively, and they're not going to get the bucket to go. Slow start for the Loggers. And Roseboro handling here. She had a tough night last night. We'll see if she can recover. Fox did not have a tough night, though. She had an amazing performance. Stuck in the corner there, though, and she gives it up to Puget Sound. Another fast break opportunity, and a nice job collecting it there for Samantha Swartout. The senior from Eatonville, Washington, gets Puget Sound on the board. And as was the case last night, not many seconds to breathe. With Puget Sound employing a press, bodies on the floor, it'll be a jump ball. That belongs to Mary Hardin-Baylor. And very quickly, 3 substitutions on the way for Puget Sound. That's Rebecca DeSala, Janae Anchetta, and Grace Patinia-Hillier. So Coach Casey Kushiyama not wasting any time going to his reserves. As Mary Hardin-Baylor up just 3-2, each team with a bucket. Peyton Hicks charging in from the corner, can't finish, and the rebound grabbed by Katie Minahan. Patinia-Hillier gives up the dribble, has to find Swartout near the free throw line. Now she's stuck with it. Finds a teammate, though. Shot clock down to about 10. Now the drive by Swartout. Moving of the feet will be a travel. If you were with us for the men's game earlier today, Geneva against Southwestern, you might have heard us say over and over how clear some of those traveling violations were, and that was another one of those where you could clearly see the shifting of the feet. And so Mary Hardin-Baylor has it. Adele Key with room to work. Won't get it to go, but the offensive rebound for Briscoe. Tough pass, handled by Roseboro. Tries to give it right to Adelke. It'll stay with them. But the handles haven't been all that clean so far. Just 3-2. Nearly 4 minutes gone by in San Antonio. And Coach Moorfield sending in a new face, Addie Self. We saw her very early yesterday, but didn't see much of her throughout the game. So we'll see if she's a more consistent piece of the puzzle tonight. Driving right is Briscoe. Gives a good opportunity for Baker, but that's off the rim. There is Self fighting for the rebound and getting it. She'll draw the foul away from the basket. So it'll stay with the purple and gold. Although tonight it is more gold than purple. They have switched their uniforms, and this is a very bright combination. That is Lauren Baker getting ready to send it in, and what a find to Addie Self. Couldn't have drawn it up any better on the inbounds play, so UMHB up to 5, and Puget Sound still with just 1 bucket. Nilsson trying to get something going for the Loggers, driving right. Few too many steps and then lost the ball as well. The turnover is starting to really rack up for the Loggers. Nice pump over to Baker. Baker for 3, yes! Lauren Baker, the junior from Grand Prairie, Texas, puts UMHB up 6 early on. Looking a lot better for UMHB than the first quarter yesterday. It was pretty disastrous for the Crusaders, and another travel going to be called, this time on Sophie Nilsson. The Trinity Tigers yesterday pouncing all over Mary Hardin-Baylor in the first quarter, really threatening to completely run away with it. UMHB taking until the 2-minute mark to hit their first field goal from the floor. Now they were able to fight back, make it a competitive game, cut it all the way down to single digits, really put Trinity on edge, but they were unable to get over the hump and pull out the victory. But tonight looking like a lot better of a start. Can the Loggers respond? It is the transition opportunity and a foul drawn by Kennedy Brown. These Loggers of Puget Sound in town from Tacoma, Washington. Brown can't hit her first free throw. These Loggers have had a great start to the year, 8-1 overall. They've begun their conference season 2-0 with some big victories for them over Whitworth and the biggest one over Whitman, their arch nemesis, who seems to be the roadblock constantly in the Northwest Conference, but they got past it to start their conference slate. Now they're looking to come down to Texas and see how they match up with some of the better teams in the state. Great finish by Addie Self again. She has started off well, and the Crew are the first 2 double digits here. Spotting up from 3, a deep one, won't go for Brown. Ball will go to Mary Hardin-Baylor, and it'll bring us to our first timeout of the first quarter, the under 5 media timeout. We'll stick around here with you for the timeout to continue setting up this great matchup between 2 very quality opponents. Mentioned Puget Sound comes in ranked 20th according to D3Hoops.com. They're 15th if you look at the Women's Basketball Coaches Association. But regardless of who you look at, this is a top 20 battle. Mary Hardin-Baylor falling to 16th from 15th as of last night, not incorporating that loss, but a loss to the number 3 team in the country won't harm you very much, especially here in San Antonio. And talking to Coach Casey Kushiyama in his 6th season as head coach at Puget Sound, and he is just thrilled to be here. You can truly feel the emotion that he has getting to come down here and face what he calls 2 elite programs in Mary Hardin-Baylor tonight and Trinity tomorrow. Says UMHB is a great, well-coached program with many good players, and he considers his team the underdog here tonight. Says they are the new kids on the block, but they are happy to test themselves and grow as a team no matter what. And so far, they have just 3 points, looking to respond after this first timeout. And as we get ready to return from the timeout, we have a new guest here in the broadcast booth. He was here for our game between Geneva and Southwestern, and now he's here for this one. Josh Muchigembo, welcome.
Hi, thanks for bringing me in.
Of course, it's going to be another good one. We were talking about how good of a week of basketball we have on Tiger Network, and this is just one of the marquee matchups, another top 20 battle. And it's been a better start for UMHB than they had last night, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, better start for UMHB, but our third game where the start has been lopsided through the first few minutes. So, but interesting enough, the last 2 games, if you're a Puget Sound fan, not to worry, because the 2 games that we've had so far this week have both been more competitive as the game went along and kind of went back and forth, especially in the second half. So hoping that we'll see the 2 teams settle in and have a pretty competitive game here on hand for us.
Definitely expecting a tight one. But right now, Puget Sound not getting much going offensively. They have not scored a field goal in the last 3 minutes, and they've turned it over here again. Make it 4 turnovers for the Loggers. Roseboro gets it in. Puget Sound still going with that full court pressure, but Mary Hardin-Baylor dealing with it a lot better. Trying to get up squarely in the faces of the crew, but Roseboro steps in front of the three-point line, knew she was short, tried to get her own miss, couldn't. It'll go to Puget Sound. Roseboro really struggling last night. One of their best players had a phenomenal freshman year, but was held to just 2 points and fouled out last night. Puget Sound gets a 3 to go. Sophie Nilsson, junior from Alameda, California. And boy, are they happy to have her back. Missed a lot of time last year due to injury, just playing 6 conference games, and yet still got an honorable mention in the conference because of how solid she was when she did play. Maybe that 3 will get things going for the Loggers. They force a miss here, and will bring it back up the court with Bettina Hillier. Trying to go inside, now kicked back out to Kennedy Brown. Brown will step back out a bit after the missed dribble, and then a bad pass taken by Briscoe. So the Loggers will really have to secure the ball if they're going to want to pull off this win.
5 turnovers apiece for both teams currently, so a little bit more than we would expect to see 2 top-ranked teams.
Shot clock under 10 now. Briscoe to Self. Self right back to Briscoe. She might have to put it up. She does. Can't get it to go, but the board is there. Cameron Martinez, and a new chance for Mary Hardin-Baylor, but an offensive foul going to be called against Lauren Baker. Great job by Brown to be in position there. And on a second look, maybe fell a little bit before the contact, but she gets the foul called. And now Mary Hardin-Baylor looking to set up with the full court press. We saw that yesterday as well, trying to respond to Trinity's full court pressure. But the theme seems to be, don't give anybody a chance to breathe in these women's basketball games with this full court pressure. There's never just, oh, they're walking it up the court, taking their time. Always someone in the face of someone else.
I think so many teams try to force the other team to make a poor decision. And Trinity will do the same thing. They'll use the full court pressure pretty much right up until the time they feel like they've played somebody who's like, hey, we know how to handle the press. And then at that point, then you start to back off a little bit. But you're still not necessarily full court press, but you're still full court coverage at that point. So we'll see how long these 2 teams feel like they can keep the slight edge by putting the pressure on.
Steal for the moment, but then it goes out of bounds. Sword out, had it in her hands and lost it. Roseboro will bring it back in now across the half-court line. And Peyton Hicks will get the chance to bring it up pretty casually now. But the shot clock is down to 15. Cortez uses the screen from Bruder. Roseboro over in the corner. She cuts inside. Contact and a blocking foul. No. A travel going to be called. One ref was getting ready to call the block, but then the other official on the opposite side of the court said it was a walk before.
Yeah, I think those almost happened simultaneously. The contact was made as the foot was coming down. So one official felt like the travel was there slightly before maybe the contact.
That looks like a travel, and it is. And Chetta couldn't get underneath herself.
We saw that was the call of the day in the men's game that was played at 1 o'clock our time here. And there were a lot of travels in that men's game, and feels like we're starting to see a little bit more of it here in the women's side as well.
Crew get it across, but then throw it away. Fox and Hicks couldn't communicate. And the turnovers continue to pile up for both teams. Now up to 8 for Mary Hardin-Baylor, 7 for Puget Sound. And after a quick start for the Crew, they have not scored in over 3 minutes. The score remains 10-6 Mary Hardin-Baylor. Nilsson attacking the paint, reverse, nice move, and thought she drew a foul, but another travel call. So it looked like a good move, but officials saying she moved her pivot foot a little bit too much.
Yeah. And we've got 10 turnovers pretty much in the last 4.5 minutes of game time combined between the two teams. So it's just, can they settle down? Can they start to get the game underneath themselves? And another turnover, this one actually taken away, so not unforced. Very nice job, but that'll be turned back over and sense that it was knocked out of bounds.
And these are two teams that score pretty frequently. They know how to put points on the board. Puget Sound scoring 80 a game, that is 7th best in the country. And Mary Hardin-Baylor scoring 71, that is 62nd best. But so far, very, very quiet, as those turnovers really haunting both sides.
One of the things we saw earlier too, Geneva coming in on the men's side earlier today, they struggled shooting here in this gym early on in their game. And so it wasn't until probably late in the first half for the men, which would be equivalent to the second quarter here as we approach with under a minute to play here in the first quarter, that Geneva really started to get a feel for the gym. And I said in that game, it can be a little disorienting. You've got 3 rows kind of right on top of you, right near the goal. So sometimes a shooter coming in, you can feel like maybe you even got a sense of it during pregame. As soon as you get into that game, it just kind of maybe feels a little disorienting. And Puget Sound only shooting 2 of 9 here to start.
It's a great point. Always have to learn a new gym, your new environment. You would think maybe Mary Hardin-Baylor got used to it last night, but to be fair, they didn't have their greatest shooting night. In fact, it was their second lowest field goal percentage on the season, shooting just 27%. Their other lowest effort in their other loss this year against East Texas Baptist. And so you can tell when the Crew are struggling, it is when they can't hit shots. And another travel going to be called, this time on Peyton Hicks, and just these teams cannot buy a free possession.
Yeah, I think you either had stepping out of bounds for Hicks or you had the travel. So either way, it was going to be a turnover.
We've got almost as many total turnovers as total shots put up. Just not the kind of basketball you want to see. And here's another one, this time taken by Roseboro. She kicks it out. Now Cortez from the top of the key. Not going to work. Adele Key gets the board, and she'll head to the line.
Yeah, nice job. Nice job by Adelke. I really liked what she was able to grab the rebound. She just happened to be at the right place at the right time because she was pretty much behind the group of loggers that was down there to kind of maybe block out initially, and they had a 3-on-1 advantage down low. The shot went a little bit long, and Adelke just the right place, right time, immediately putting it back up as she drew the contact.
And she gets her first points of the game and the first points for Mary Hardin-Baylor in 4:41. But Adelke short on that free throw. One of the bright spots last night for Mary Hardin-Baylor as well. Wide open in the lane and a great dish. very aware, but it doesn't go down. Tough break for Puget Sound, as that was a very unselfish play there at the end of the quarter. But it did not go for Puget Sound. So 11-6 the score in favor of Mary Hardin-Baylor. We'll take a quick break on Tiger Network and be back for the second quarter. Welcome back to Tiger Network. A first quarter that I have to believe both teams will want to forget. Very sloppy play for both. 10 turnovers for Mary Hardin-Baylor, 9 for Puget Sound. You see the numbers right there. Neither team really able to get it going, but we'll see if they can make the corrections here in the second quarter.
Here we go. Yeah, just 6 field goals made in that half, or in that quarter, excuse me. 3 of them from downtown. 2 of 10 for the Loggers, 1 of 3 from downtown, and then for the Crew, 4 of 12, 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. And as you said, I mean, the story of the first quarter there was the turnover, so hopefully we'll see teams after that short little 2-minute break maybe starts to come back and if nothing else, at least starts to develop the offense and get back to the point where they can go through what's made them 2 really good teams here in 2022.
Blocking foul called as Roseboro drove to the basket. Big collision. And the foul called on Swartout of Puget Sound. And they're going to say she was not in the act of shooting, and you can see on that replay really losing possession of the ball. So good call. Gives UMHB possession of it. Roseboro still scoreless tonight. Cortez gets the swing. Now to Hicks. Hicks has a good look, and she's able to connect. Peyton Hicks, the senior from Plano, Texas, was in the starting lineup yesterday, back in there today. Nice move by Brown, and she finishes. So a good sign for both teams, each getting a bucket in the first minute of the second quarter. Lead is up to 6 for Mary Hardin-Baylor. Adelke, if she can collect it, has room, and she does.
A nice job by the Crew to beat the press, but also I thought a pretty good job for Puget Sound getting back on defense. Didn't give Adelke a great look at it, but she was able to turn around and knock down the shot, and then coming back the other way, it's Brown with the 3. She's starting to heat up, and still just that 5-point game that we had, but teams getting back to the offense, and the turnovers have been very, very limited so far.
Yeah, and you do not want to let Kennedy Brown get going from deep. She is one of the most dangerous 3-point shooters in the country. Adelke jousting for it. All black jerseys surrounding her, and it'll be a jump ball. Ball will stay with the gold and purple. So Cortez will send it in. But Kennedy Brown, the leading scorer so far this year for Puget Sound. And she not only leads the conference, but is 25th in Division III, shooting 44% from deep.
An opportunity here for Mary Hardin-Baylor to work the ball around.
Roseboro just can't get it to go. Gets another shot at it, and that one rolls in. And she has to hope that seeing it go through the bucket will help her mindset. Yesterday, her 2 points were free throws. She did not get a single field goal to go. And Roseboro, just such a consistent scoring this year and last year that you can't imagine she'll be held down for long. A 3-pointer here for Patinia Hillier is good. The guard taking care of it on her own, and now she'll check out. Mass substitutions on the way, and a timeout called as well just after that three. So 18-14 the lead for Mary Hardin-Baylor. But that's what we want to see. Good, solid basketball, ball movement, shots made, more of what we hope to see.
Yeah, in the last 2.5 here to start the quarter, really nice. For Puget Sound, a lot of in-movement shots. And you get a good look at the replays here from the second quarter so far. Some second chance points, I think, for UMHB there, and that three was kind of in rhythm. Little handoff play, and, had a hand in the face on that shot. And Petunia Hilliard, not afraid to shoot that shot, and it's starting to fall. You see some of the three-point percentages there on your screen. I think both teams are happy, 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. And, it takes a little bit of time, I think, to settle in. UMHB obviously playing last night against Trinity, so they've got the familiarity with the court. Maybe not so surprised by them coming out, not feeling a little bit of rust, but a couple of days since Puget Sound has last played. Just 3 days ago, but still, the travel, getting accustomed to, your setting, your surrounding. So maybe it takes a few minutes for them to get comfortable within the flow of the game. And now just a 4-point game, and they're going to be back with a full court press here as UMHB will inbound. It was on a made shot, so they can run if they need it, but look to get it in pretty nicely.
And I'm glad you bring up that last game, as you guessed it, a travel called on UMHB. But that win over the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, a pretty perfect example of what this Loggers team is capable of. They were up just 2 in the third quarter, and the game even got tied at 57 in the fourth quarter before Puget Sound absolutely went wild for a 37-point fourth quarter to end up winning that game by 20, as another bucket for Petunia Hilliard goes. But it really displays how quickly the Loggers can get going, and before you know it, now they're down 2 after that pretty tough start, and they get another turnover here, and they're feeling good. You can feel the cheers coming from the bench.
Yeah, and great rotational defense. They forced UMHB into that corner. Felt like if you're going to put up a weird shot, take it. If not, your only outlet is to make that pass back across the middle of the court, and they had somebody crashing down to take that lane away. Yeah, I think both of these teams, if given the chance, can go on pretty big runs and do so in a hurry. We definitely know UMHB, after they were down double digits pretty significantly yesterday, came back and brought the game within Trinity within a bucket. So I wouldn't blink on either side, especially defensively. And that one just a little bit of a miscue. Like the idea of trying to find the cutter. But it'll be back to the Crew with the 2-point lead.
And a timeout called on the floor. UMHB up 18-16.
So UMHB with 30-second timeout. I'd be just curious if they feel like, if now is the time where they feel that, stop the game. They've had a few miscues down here. They've got possession. Do they look to say, like, okay, run through the offense, slow it down a little bit. Let's make sure we get a bucket on this possession, because you don't want to come back down and have the game get tied after you were up 8 points here to start this at 10-2. So, basically, right now they need to start to see, like, can they get to, can they get to 20 first, and then after that, the goal will be to get to 25 and then 30, and then, progress as they move down the rest of the game. One thing they don't want to do is have a huge lead just completely evaporate, and it feels like the momentum has shifted to the Loggers.
Hicks down low to Adelke. She turns, unable to get it. Tough look for her, fading away. And here come the Loggers. Katie Minahan passes it off. And a push going to be called on Mary Hardin-Baylor. You also have to wonder, thinking about what Coach Kushiyama told me of how they really consider themselves underdogs, not only against Mary Hardin-Baylor, but tomorrow against Trinity. But what you do know about underdogs, the more you give them a sense that they can win and the longer you keep them in the game, the more they start to feel it. And Mary Hardin-Baylor came out swinging, but they were unable to really extend their lead, and now Puget Sound has tied the game up. These are two big powerhouses, Mary Hardin-Baylor and Trinity, that Puget Sound is going up against. They were thrilled to be down here for the test. And if they get a sense that they can win, you can imagine that they'll take off and run with it.
Yeah, and for Puget Sound, I mean, 8-1 this year, success in the past. You know, it's not like they don't belong, and you know they're 20th in the country. New rankings come out today, so they're top 20. And Mary Hardin-Baylor sitting at 16. They were 15. They dropped one spot, and Trinity moving up to number 3 from 4. So you've got 3 great teams, and when you look at pretty much anything west of the Mississippi is pretty much, you know, just 4 conferences, with no offense to the schools in Minnesota. But, you know, you've got 4 conferences in the Northwest Conference, the SCIAC, ASC, and the SCAC. And so you're looking at potentially the top 3 teams from 4 of the, you know, 3 out of 4 of those conferences. You know, these close games that we've seen back and forth with last night and tonight for UMHB, it's a great test for them as well. And so, you know, I think Coach Cameron Hill for the Trinity's put together a nice little tournament down here for everybody. A good opportunity to see some of the type of basketball they're going to face maybe into March. And I think all 3 teams want to be there, and this is what they're going to have to go up against.
Definitely a sense of foreshadowing here with these teams in town. And Coach Cam Hill telling me that he purposely wanted to do this round robin style rather than bringing in another opponent. He wanted to make sure that each of these 3 teams faced one another, because he wanted to give each team the experience of facing tough tests. And I really like that concept because, like you said, come March, this could be a regional, and it could be right here in CalGuard Gym. You never know. And so each team will get that experience, and we'll learn from it for sure as they go into their respective conference play. Game all tied up at 20 here, under 5 minutes in the second quarter. And you can see the defensive intensity picking up, and Peyton Hicks had an open look for 3. Instead, travels once again. She's had a couple of those called on her, and she looks back in disbelief, but she picked up her foot before moving, and it'll be called every time. 12 turnovers now make it 13 for UMHB.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'd say the turnover is not the key storyline here in the second quarter. And so, you know, kind of falling into a normality, I guess, as far as turnovers go, because that first quarter was almost unwatchable, you know, from the sense of just a basketball fan trying to sit down and enjoy. And I think that both teams kind of felt the same way, because they came out in the second half and really it almost felt like the rush and the forced pressure that they were giving themselves. They came out in the second quarter and just didn't feel like they had that anymore. It felt like they were like, okay, we know how to play this game, and we're going to play this game very well. And the second quarter has been fantastic so far.
And what a play out of the inbounds pass from Janae Anchetta, the freshman from Puyallup, Washington.
A fantastic cut to the basket. And the foul on Zaruba be her first, but an opportunity now for the Loggers to take a 3-point lead.
Little strong there. Board collected by Roseboro. Roseboro gets it back, has Petunia Hillier all up in her face, so she has to give it up. The closeouts are there for Puget Sound right now. Look at the hands right up where the ball is. Fox is rejected by Nilsson, and she gives her a little look. What a closeout by Sophie Nilsson right there. She averages nearly a block per game, and you can see the official taking a little second to tell her, don't react like that necessarily, and Nilsson says, okay, I got it, but just pumped up after that big-time play. 6 seconds left on the shot clock for the Crew. Cortez will get it. tipped away. Bruder has it, but it'll be a shot clock violation. The buzzer didn't go off, but the clock does read 0.
Yeah, and just maybe a lack of awareness looking to make that pass. I think at some point you've got to know, hey, we started with 6 seconds off the inbound play. This has got to go up at some point. So
Nilsson backing down Bruder, gets it out to Patinia Hillier. And Nilsson now top of the key, feeling good, rattles out. Would have been a big momentum swing, continue the energy shift to Puget Sound. Fox over to Roseboro, have an open Cortez. But look at this effort defensively. It won't fall for Roseboro. Nilsson grabs the board, clears it, and here comes Puget Sound.
yeah, if I'm UMHB right now, I'm looking at Roseboro to try to maybe be that person out there to take over because nobody else really seems to want to do it. On the other side of this right now, I feel like the Loggers have a few people that are like, hey, I want the ball in my hands. And Patinia Hillier, one of them, along with Nielsen.
Yeah, Patinia Hillier really impressing offensively, already up to 7 points. Nice answer from Cortez. But Patinia Hillier coming off a 14-point performance against Coast Guard. She averages 9 per game. One of many offensive weapons for the Loggers. Swartout will spot up from 3, and Swartout hits it. And the few Logger fans in attendance happy with that one. The senior from Eatonville continues what has been a much better second quarter for Puget Sound. They are up 5 and have hit 5 of their last 7. And really, their offense has been great, but their defense has been better. Their hands are everywhere, Josh.
Some effective line changes here, and we'll see if UMHB can put a different front out there to maybe make it a little bit more challenging for the Loggers' defense, but well-deserved break for the Loggers exiting, because this last 3 or 4 minutes for them has just been fantastic and pretty much gone to script. Now I've taken a 5-point lead. The foul is going to go against Mary Hardin-Baylor. So Fox with her first foul. So we're under 2 here. Now we'll put the Loggers into the bonus on the next foul.
Patinia Hillier feeling good in the paint. Can't finish there. Rebound goes to her fellow number 3. Baker scrambling up the court, taking it all the way before giving it up to Brown. Right place, right time, and now can she get it in time? What a way to get it. Jordan Riverman, the only question was, would the pass be too far? But it was not. And the roar coming from the Loggers bench, a timeout for Mary Hardin-Baylor as Puget Sound now up 7. And right now, you're really seeing Puget Sound's weapons are coming through. And for Mary Hardin-Baylor, you look up and down the roster. You've got Ashley Fox, 0 points. You've got Roseboro, who has not been able to get much going. And you've got Adelke, who has been kept quiet as well. Those are the 3 people you look for UMHB, and they're just not answering the call right now.
Yeah, and then, as you look, sometimes you say, like, okay, well, our normal scorers aren't going to be here tonight. But what do you do? How do you progress? And then I look at that and say, like, can you make it to where Cortez is going to get open enough to knock down the shots that she has? She's been solid so far, 2 for 4, 5 points, leading the way along with Peyton Hicks. But can you develop your offense to get them open? And I think the rest of the crew's crew is going to have to come alive here. And if they can do it in the next 90 seconds, it'll give them something positive to go into the locker room with. If not, they're going to definitely have to make that adjustment as they come back.
And there is Ashley Fox, who had a career game last night, finally getting in the box score. We'll see if that catapults her all the way, but Reverman not wasting any time, getting 2 buckets in a row for Puget Sound. So the junior from Portland, Oregon, just 4 points in their last game, already up to that amount in the second quarter.
And she's 4 of 5 overall with 8 points in the game.
And the loose ball foul going against Mary Hardin-Baylor. The hustle very evident for Puget Sound. But Reverman, yeah, doubling up that performance from just a couple of days ago.
And good enough to lead all scorers here in the first half.
Team foul number 5.
You know, it's been quite a turnaround here. You know, it started off 10-2 for Mary Hardin-Baylor. If you look at that since 29-14 in favor of the Loggers, and so they've really not only turned the game around but also just kept the foot down as they've pushed forward. So as we said, it's really going to be interesting to see what type of adjustments UMHB can make, because they're only down 7, but in reality they haven't been competitive probably in the last 10 to 12 minutes.
And we really harped on it in the first quarter, right? The turnover. Well, sometimes basketball is a pretty simple game. This run for Puget Sound, a much better second quarter. Just 1 turnover after 9 in the first quarter. So you keep the ball, you get shots, you run your offense, and magical things tend to happen. And it's resulted in an 8-point lead. Kennedy Brown can make it 9, and she does. 49 seconds left, and Puget Sound out to a 9-point lead. A completely different story for the Tacoma Washington squad, nearly forcing another takeaway. Peyton Hicks will check in for the final few possessions, with Roseboro sending it in.
Yeah, an opportunity for Mary Hardin-Baylor, if they can get the offense moving, maybe a 2-for-1 situation. Be something to take back in the locker room. Otherwise, I feel like Puget Sound is going to be really happy with how the second quarter and the first half went. Maybe not getting the travel call on the foul now going against Puget Sound. Good break here for the Crusaders.
Foul number 22, Janai and Chetta, her first.
And Chetta gets her first foul called, and it sends Briscoe to the charity stripe.
Line for 2 shots.
The only thing I didn't like about the possession for Mary Hardin-Baylor was, again, if they go quickly, they kind of force a 2-for-1. Now Puget Sound, if they want, can hold the ball for the final shot of the half, and really takes away an opportunity for Mary Hardin-Baylor to kind of put more points on the board. But maybe they wanted to limit how quickly Puget Sound was scoring, particularly their 4 of their last 5 field goals. So maybe they were like, if we just limit them, we'll be okay.
Briscoe does connect on both her free shots, though. And Puget Sound can hold on to the last shot if they choose to. Brown, excellent find, but Anchetta can't complete it. Now the ball is loose. Mary Hardin-Baylor comes up with it. They have a runner if they find her. Martinez now with 3 seconds left. Fox will have to put it up. She does. And off the top of the iron. What a frenzied finish here in San Antonio to that first half. It was a very, very slow first quarter, and it certainly picked up the pace in the second. It results in a Puget Sound lead that is 33-26.
Yeah, a couple of good looks at some of the scoring plays. We'll get that sorted and come back to the half.
Should be a good one. Both teams have shown that they're capable of jumping ahead, going on big runs, so we'll see who has it after the halftime adjustments. 14 and a half minutes to go in the halftime, so get a snack, get a drink, and join us on Tiger Network for the second half. It is time for the second half here in San Antonio. The Puget Sound Loggers 33, Mary Hardin-Baylor 26. It was a slow first quarter that really picked up in the second quarter, and the Loggers are currently being led by Jordan Reverman and Kennedy Brown. They both have 8 points, and especially in that second quarter, they were two pieces, and you really add Patinia Hillier showing aggressiveness, going to the basket, and putting the Loggers in the position that they're in going into this third quarter. Yeah,
definitely, those 23 points combined. If it's just those three on the court against Mary Hardin-Baylor offensively, comparative, they're staying within everything there. A little bit of extra bench help, to take the 7-point lead into the half. But it's kind of like what we were talking about in the second quarter. Does UMHB have anybody that's going to be the person that's just going to help take over a game? We've kind of been looking at Roseboro, and she's been scoring really well throughout the year. Even looking, down on the inside at Adelke. Neither one of those have really gotten going. They've got 2 points and 3 points respectively. It's been Caitlin Cortez and Peyton Hicks with 5 apiece to pace the crew. And, I'm going to be interested to see what adjustments were made, because I think UMHB has a lot more adjustments to be made, because Puget Sound, honestly, you named off 3 players. If somebody starts to miss shots, you've got 2 more that, have been major contributors this game, are feeling this game so far. But what does UMHB have? We've seen the missed shots, and then, on the top of that, we've seen a huge second quarter, change in not only momentum, but the score, being down 8 to now up 7.
And I think what I would be worried about if I were UMHB is we listed off 3 names that are not Katie Minahan or Sophie Nilsson. Katie Minahan has yet to score. She averages nearly 9 a game. Sophie Nilsson, 11 points. She's been fairly quiet, had a big defensive play, but those are 2 more players that the Loggers can really go to if those 3 slow down at all. And here is Nilsson with the ball. She drives, kicks it down to Sword out and off the glass and down. So just unselfish basketball being played right now by Puget Sound, and they look like the team that is in more of a rhythm.
And Sword out now with 7 on the game so far. So now they've got, basically 4 players with 7 or 8 points, and it's, like you said, and 2 of them are not 2 players that you would count on getting to double figures on any given night.
Kennedy Brown pops from just beyond the free throw line. Adelke will get the board. Minahan meeting Hicks at the timeline, but UMHB gets it across, and you have Catalina Cortez, who started at the point guard position today, starting instead of Briscoe. We've got both starting units out there. Adelke trying to get going. It will be short, and it'll be off of the gold. And referee agrees. We'll give it to Puget Sound. And a quick substitution here. Fox will check out for Cameron Martinez. Martinez, the transfer from Austin College. So someone else who should be familiar with Calgary Gym. Doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, the sophomore from Dallas, but Coach Moorfield seeing something that caused him to take out Fox, and an offensive foul going to be called on Minahan. But as Fox checks out, just very surprised to see her performance today. After yesterday, she had a season-high 16 points leading the team and had her first career double-double. But Puget Sound maybe watched that game along with us and decided to try to take her out of the game, and they certainly have, quite literally here as she checks out. A blocking foul along the baseline. Shot clock reset to 20. But Puget Sound still up by 9 with a minute half passed in the third quarter.
And Nilsson trying to come over on the help side defense, taking away the baseline lane, getting the foul call.
Roseboro finally gets it off the glass and down, and Ariana Roseboro looking to heat up. Reverman can't get it to go on the quick opportunity, and here come the crew. Roseboro yesterday with just 2 points. That's the fewest she's had in her career. As a sophomore, was the Rookie of the Year in the region last year, Freshman of the Year in the conference. And just 2 points yesterday, now up to 4. But you have to think that she has something in her, averaging nearly 14 points a game. The lowest she had before yesterday was 9. So it's just so atypical of Roseboro to be this quiet. Cortez gets the steal, and she's going to head to the line, drawing the foul.
Yeah, a fantastic play for Cortez. Had a really nice look on the 3. It hit a little long. She stayed with the play, read the pass, able to come in, make the interception. But then beyond that, I liked going to the rim. I mean, I don't think she had any illusions that she was going to be able to go up against the defenders there, but doing exactly what she needed to get to the line.
Gets to the line, but misses both. So a missed opportunity for Cortez and the crew. Now she's trying to recover defensively. Minahan deals with it well. Brown from deep, short off the rim there for the rebound. Reading that miss well was DeSala. Sword out, has a size mismatch, and she's going to draw the foul. You can hear
Cortez.
the officials saying, yeah, the hands of Cortez, just the size mismatch too much for her to handle.
I think she was doing everything she could just to keep Sword out to not drive and go all the way straight to the rim.
Reverman pulls up from 3. She saw it was off, and it goes out of bounds. So the shooting hasn't been what it was in the second quarter for Puget Sound. They haven't scored in 2:20, 0 for their last 4. But they still are hanging on to a 7-point lead because their defense has stepped up.
I'm wondering if Reverman's feeling like she's needing to put up the shot quicker than she is needed to, because both of her last 2 shots have been well off the mark. After seeing her shoot in the first half, it just doesn't feel like she's that type of a shooter that would miss on consecutive shots like that.
And you can really sense some frustration here for UMHB. Uday Adelke heading to the bench, having some words with Coach Mark Moorfield. And she heads to the bench, checking out. You know, it's not easy to come to San Antonio having to face Trinity first and then another ranked team. So UMHB really dealing with that tough battle over and over. And right now, unable to respond to what Puget Sound has given them. In the corner is Sword out, and her foot on the line. So give it to the crew.
And we mentioned these 2 teams ranked, Hardin-Baylor ranked 16th in the country, and Puget Sound ranked 20th. That's the D3Hoops.com poll that came out today. If you look at the NABC poll, Hardin-Baylor ranked 12th, Puget Sound ranked 14th. And you know, you kind of look at the coaches poll, maybe some of the coaches that vote, you know, maybe not getting a full sense of the year. But I think regardless, it does show that these 2 teams are, you know, pretty respected around the country. But also for UMHB, I kind of wonder, like, yeah, it seems like it's going to be a hard weekend, but at the same time, to have a 10-minute gap yesterday as the game started, and to go through the second quarter the way that they did today, I just don't see, you know, how a team that's that good can have kind of those two on back-to-back nights where they just have almost a quarter's worth of just not being in the same, you know, conversation as their opponent at that point.
And you take a look at their season as an offensive foul called on UMHB. They were picked to finish second in the American Southwest Conference behind Hardin-Simmons, a Hardin-Simmons team that we became very familiar with earlier this year. But UMHB fell to East Texas Baptist already. They have yet to face Hardin-Simmons. But when you get a look at how they played this week, you do start to get the sense that they're going to have a tough time in what is a very solid ASC on the women's basketball side.
Yeah, and East Texas Baptist receiving votes in the D3 Hoops poll. Hardin-Simmons still ranked, you know, and the ASC has 3 really good teams, and they've got a handful of others that I think are really competitive. So I think top to bottom, it's probably a stronger conference. than most of those in the West region. But at the same time, and they kind of showed it. They had multiple teams make the tournament last year. And I think maybe a little bit unfairly, they were both the Crew and East Texas Baptist were both sent to Memphis, for their first few games, and they had to knock each other out in the second round. And Mary Hardin-Baylor was able to survive and pass to the Sweet 16. But it's a strong conference top to bottom, and I think it's curious. Can they make the leap and kind of dethrone Hardin-Simmons, who's been there? East Texas Baptist, I think, was kind of the pride of the conference a few years before that. But UMHB has just consistently been there, and the last time we saw them here in San Antonio, it was them winning the regional.
That's right. They went to their first ever NCAA playoff appearance back in 2019. And they've gone twice since then as Anchetta misses her first free throw. But it was that 2020 year that a lot of us remember, and Coach Moorfield does as well. They had just wrapped up what was a magical weekend for them. They won a couple of games here at CalGuard Gym to advance to the Sweet 16. They were in Amherst practicing ready to play up in Massachusetts. And then, as Coach Moorfield describes it to me, they found out as soon as the practice was over that the season had been shut down due to COVID. A nice bucket here for UMHB, pulls them to within 5, but just crazy to think how far we've come. But it just goes to show the consistency that UMHB has had over the last couple of years, because that's 2 Sweet 16 appearances. Even though they didn't get to actually play the Sweet 16, they made it. So they have the talent. They have the ability. They just have to put it all together for 40 minutes a night. A timeout called here for Puget Sound, but
and it's a pretty young team. I mean, they've got some juniors, but probably not a whole lot of faces that kind of remember that run right before COVID. A lot of first years on the team, so they're possibly still looking to find out who they are. They started off hot with some pretty big wins. I mean, going to Atlanta, knocking off Emory, beating Lynchburg, and then, kind of taking the tour of Texas. They beat Schreiner, Concordia, and Laterno before falling about a week and a half ago against East Texas Baptist, but then responded with a couple of home games. Not really getting home games till mid-December, although not too surprised about that. I mean, they usually feel like basketball doesn't really start until about mid-December. They've got a couple of other things going on to finish out the fall sports usually, so I'm not surprised that they didn't get a home game until mid-December, but when you have a powerhouse football team, usually you have to schedule around that and everything else. But it's a weird schedule being on the road for that long, and then this is kind of their first trip after having a few home games. So it almost makes those home games feel like they're just part of the road trip, right? And so they really, what are they going to do in a couple of weeks when they start playing consecutive games at home? Can they start to put everything back together again and be the number 2 team in the conference they were predicted to be, upset Hardin-Simmons, kind of take the reins over a little bit, maybe get a revenge game against East Texas Baptist, who took the revenge game for beating them in the playoffs last year. So
out of the timeout, spins in and out for Reverman. Puget Sound, currently the team that has to make the adjustment, even though UMHB has continued to struggle. Puget Sound has not scored for nearly 5 minutes now, and it has allowed UMHB to pull within 3. The deficit got up to 9. The Puget Sound has gone cold. Can Sophie Nilsson get them going? She is backing down. Adelke kicks it out to Reverman. Reverman, nice bounce pass to Petunia Hillier, but it is robbed by Briscoe, and here come the Crew. Briscoe taking it all the way before a travel call. A 6-0 run over the last 4 minutes, and Puget Sound scoreless over the last 5:07. A timeout on the floor, but we'll stick around here to now talk a little bit more about Puget Sound, because they are a team that comes into this week in San Antonio 8-1, ranked in the top 20, as we've mentioned, depending on which poll you look at. One higher than the other, but it is the consensus that they are a ranked team. They were picked to win the Northwest Conference this year, and Coach Casey Kushiyama saying they put zero stock in being picked to win, but he is excited about how they have started this year. And that win over Whitman, really huge for them because they fell to Whitman twice a year ago. And Coach Kuchiyama saying they weren't healthy either of those times last year, and he really felt that that was the difference this time because not only were they healthy, and that actually helps on the court, but mentally the team believed that they could actually beat the Whitman squad that is consistently that powerhouse up in the Pacific Northwest. And so that 8-1 record is no joke. Last year they finished second in the conference in the regular season, and despite a 20-5 record, they were left out of the NCAA tournament. And Coach Kushiyama saying he really takes that upon himself because he did not schedule tough enough. And so he said, I am not going to make that mistake again. And that is part of the reason they are down here in Texas facing Mary Hardin-Baylor, facing Trinity. He wants that strength of schedule up, and he's going to get it up. And the way it's looking, he might get at least one win out of it if his team can keep it up. But just being here, he believes, is good for his team to learn and grow.
Yeah, and 20-5 record last year. At-large bids in the NCAA tournament are just it's tough. I mean, everybody feels like, hey, we put our resume out there. Hard part to remember is 400 schools play, and so you've got 40 plus automatic berths, and so there's just a handful of teams that are going to be left to pick from, and so fantastic season. It ended short in the first round of the conference for them last year. As UMHB crawling back within one now, but a fantastic start to this year. You mentioned, not only Whitman, but, George Fox last couple of years has been really strong up in the Northwest Conference. They lost to Pacific, who's a pretty talented team at times as well. So, I mean, getting through your own conference can be tough. And so it's opportunities to face the top level of other conferences is fantastic. And I think, we saw it in volleyball, right? You can't really go wrong scheduling really tough teams. It's not only going to help you early on, but it's going to help you if you do get into the tournament. Now you've got the experience against somebody, so you're not just 0-1 going back home and said, oh, we made the tournament. Now you can, kind of hit that next level. And I think, speaking from what Trinity's done, making the Elite Eights and, coming within one game of going to the final site, that's kind of the next goal. And so every year you try to build upon, what you can do. So, goal this year would be, fare well in the conference tournament, see if you can make the postseason, and then just build upon the team that you have. And they look pretty talented out here.
Certainly very talented, and one of their most talented pieces finally gets in the box score on the point column. Katie Minahan hits both free throws to end a scoring drought that had reached 6 minutes for Puget Sound. The lead 3. Lauren Baker nearly loses her balance as she crosses half court. Gibson puts up a deep 3, will be no good. And a foul on the floor.
They're going to get Kennedy Brown. No, it's going to be a sword out.
Her third, team foul number 5. It'll be 2 shots.
Mary Hardin-Baylor now in the bonus. And that first shot is good. Despite those last couple of free throws for Puget Sound, they have not connected on their last 7 shots from the floor. The UMHB defense doing a nice job adjusting coming out of the locker room, similar to what happened yesterday after Trinity's fast start. Can Patinia Hillier put one back in the hoop? No, she can't. And the rebound by Fox. So UMHB can tie it or take the lead here. Baker has options, kicks it out. 4-3 is good for Caitlin Brooks. And the Crusaders are on top. Caitlin Brooks, who we saw last night, has a large contingent of friends and family. Veterans Memorial High School here in the area. Another missed shot for Patinia Hillier, and UMHB is charging. Gibson gets it, now trapped in the corner. Fox trying to get it down low. 2 around her. Ball on the floor, and UMHB will be granted a timeout.
Well, the easiest way to get back into a game that you're falling behind in is to start with good defense, and they did that. And they weren't responsible for all of Puget Sound not scoring over that 6-minute mark, but they were responsible for a good bit of it, and that allowed them to, continue putting up some good shots. And you see some of the names that we talked about needing to step up and be, more involved in this game come alive here in the third quarter.
Yeah, Roseboro up to 6. She's been more aggressive, also has 6 rebounds, so continuing to help her team in more ways than one. And Fox, just 2 points still, but 4 rebounds. And she was active on that last possession, diving to the floor. Got 2:31 to go from Calgard Gym. Mary Hardin-Baylor up 1. And a very quick timeout gets Lauren Baker the ball. And a nice find. Caitlin Brooks coming alive in the third quarter. A nice spark plug for Coach Moorfield to go to. We were wondering who is going to be that person who comes through when the big three aren't there. And so far, Caitlin Brooks answering the call. Nilsson spinning, gets it out. And one-on-one here is Eisenman before she gives it up, and now a reset with the clock under 10, and Shetta driving right, but she never really had control of it. A foul diving to the floor. Looks like it's going against Mary Hardin-Baylor.
Foul on number 3. Lauren Baker.
DeSala checks back in for Eisenman.
The line for 2, Janai and Chetta.
And Chetta 0 for 3 from the line, but she gets that one to go. She's played in all 10 games so far this year, but only averages about 3.
Both teams currently 6 of 10 from the foul line.
And she gets both, so coming through for her team there and pulling the Loggers 2 within 1. Baker has someone in the corner. Instead, she finds an open Fox. Great job distributing the basketball there. She could have gone several ways, and that one worked out. Sword out from 3, and a big-time shot for number 1. You can kind of feel her saying, okay, we're still in this. It's a tie game. Maybe get the offense back in rhythm as we approach the fourth quarter. Roseboro driving left, body on the floor, no call. Fox steps up, misses the jump shot. Now a foul will give it to Puget Sound. Foul going against 23, Kenna Gibson.
That is her second.
Yeah, I think good job by the officials on the first no call. It looked like the player kind of stumbled after going to the spot. And then the last one, a kind of an over-the-back foul that I think is just, pretty common and easy to make the call, but does put both teams in the bonus. Now, free throws for Puget Sound here with 1:20.
DeSala can't connect on the first. The senior from Mount Lake Terrace, Washington, had a great showing a game ago with 8 points over Coast Guard. But she misses both. Collected by Minahan, though, and they'll get another shot. Sword out, feeling good off the rim, and Roseboro escapes with the board. Roseboro been very active, grabbing rebounds, but she'll be called for the offensive foul. And a mixed reaction in this gym. We've got a good amount of UMHB fans. They were here yesterday, they're here today. They were upset by that call, but meanwhile, the cheers from the Logger bench. Just her first foul, though, so she has plenty to work with after getting fouled out last night. And even though the points haven't been there for Roseboro, you can kind of sense the Rookie of the Year is back in her after struggling yesterday, and Cortez swats that one away. Crew in fast break. The Loggers do get back, though. Brooks trying to find Roseboro. She had her, and it'll go off of herself and over to Puget Sound.
Nielsen taking a shot to the shoulder.
And Nielsen has dealt with injuries over the past couple of seasons. Mentioned she got that honorable mention in the conference despite just playing 6 conference games, and Coach Kushiyama saying they are so happy to have her back. And admitting she's still not at 100%, but saying even half of Sophie Nielsen or any portion of her is an all-conference player. But certainly hope her shoulder is okay because she continues to grab it.
Number 10, Catalina Cortez, that is her fourth.
She had a team-high 17 points against Coast Guard and averages double digits, but she's now walking towards the Tiger, moving her shoulder around, and she'll rest it while Katie Minahan heads to the charity stripe.
That was a fantastic pass by Anichetta on the kind of pick and roll over the top of the defender. Almost led to an and one. Couldn't get the shot to fall.
Minahan gets that one, and Puget Sound on top. Back to this full court pressure, and it results in a foul. Nearly a takeaway.
But it's going to go against UMHB.
Yeah, foul on the purple and gold. We'll see that replay. Going up high is Anchetta.
Foul number 5, Ariana Roseboro, her second.
Kind of a toss-up there, but you can see why the call goes against Roseboro, and another trip to the line for Anchetta. This one goes through. So Anchetta being very active, a freshman on this roster, getting decent playing time in a pressure-packed situation. Fight for the board, won by Fox. And a foul, even though the hands were up for DeSala. The referee saw it, and now they'll take a walk across the court. This is what we saw between Geneva and Southwestern towards the end of that game. Many free throws. But one thing you can definitely say, both teams are fighting for every ball now.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of a body bump on that one, and some might be wondering, well, why is that a foul? Well, if you have enough of a little bit of a body bump that allows the pivot foot to be broken away from the floor, then it becomes a travel. So you have to have the foul one way, or it's potentially a travel the other way.
Kennedy Brown checks in for the final 10 seconds. Mary Hardin-Baylor down by 1. Minahan brings it across. Looking for some help. It'll be Sword out, pumps, runs into her own teammate. Nilsson has to put it up. Off the side of the glass. And it'll send us to the fourth quarter. Puget Sound 45, Mary Hardin-Baylor 44. It'll be a fantastic fourth quarter on Tiger Network, so don't go anywhere. the first quarter belonged to turnovers. The second quarter belonged to Puget Sound. And the third quarter belonged to UMHB. So who will the fourth quarter belong to? It is a 1-point game in this top 20 battle. As the game has progressed, the game has gotten better, and the play has gotten better for both sides. So we expect to see that in this fourth quarter. Both teams now fully adjusted to the gym, to each other. And it'll come down to who can execute in the final minutes. Roseboro with it. 15 seconds now past the shot clock. And what a find. Roseboro to Briscoe underneath. And great to see Roseboro driving and then kicking and not forcing the shot up. And it results in the lead for her Crusaders.
We have a great view from up here at the top or above the camera angle that you have on your screen. And we can pretty much see everything. And I didn't even see the open lane there that Roseboro found. So a fantastic pass. You know, it only counts for one assist in the book, but you know, sometimes you need a little asterisk or something to denote things that are just incredibly good.
The press has returned for Puget Sound. UMHB able to get to the rim. Another opportunity. Both of them missed there, though, by Caitlin Brooks, who had a couple of big shots in that third quarter. So Coach Moorfield giving her some more run. Nilsson with a great pump. Steps into the lane and gets it to go. One of the more aggressive plays we've seen from Nilsson. Good to see her shoulder feeling good. Great kick to Adelke, but sails it over the basket. And a jump ball after the board by Roseboro. It'll belong to Puget Sound, but you see Roseboro with the assist. That one didn't count as an assist because Adelke couldn't hit, but another fantastic pass and then battling for the board. She's up to 8 rebounds now. And that is if they indeed do give her that rebound before that jump ball. But either way, helping her team even on an off-scoring night. Patinia Hillier was a key in that first half. Haven't heard much from her. Nilsson rattles out that three. Fight by Minahan and a travel.
Yeah. I think UMHB fans, you can hear her here in the gym wanting an over-the-back call. And can't really argue with that. They'll get the travel instead. As Minahan went down to the floor and kind of rolled over just a little bit. It'll be a blocking foul against Puget Sound. And we get to the fourth quarter, you know, the legs get tired. It's you know, sometimes you've got to start thinking about whether or not you're going to commit the foul or you're going to let the person go by you. And sometimes, you know, you've got to conserve your fouls. You know, right now, not too many fouls against Puget Sound, only 14 in the game. But, you know, you don't want to be at risk of fouling out and fouling unnecessarily. You know, teams are shooting fairly well at the line. And speaking of the line, going back.
Yeah, Samantha Swartout earning a trip to the line.
Number 31, Ashley Fox, that is her second. Team foul number
Fox
5.
will collect the foul. Swartout,
Two-shot foul.
the All-NWC second team last year. Gets the first free throw down. And she is again averaging double-digit scoring this year, 10 points per game. And shooting well across the board, 39% from the floor, 40% from three on the year, and importantly, as you see it there, 85% from the free throw line this season. And she comes through there to put Puget Sound up 2 with 8 minutes to go. Fox gets it at the Tiger, now moves it forward. Baker sets up the offense, dealing with Patinia Hillier, who has been very active defensively. There she is doubling Roseboro. Under 10, Baker spots up from mid-range, won't go, and the rebound to Swartout. And Shetta has shown a tendency to drive it all the way. This time stops, gets it out to Patinia Hillier. Bounces out. Nice swing pass, though, from Nilsson to get it to Patinia Hillier, who now is going to be called for the blocking foul. But she is everywhere, isn't she? The senior from Portland, number 3. The shots haven't fallen for her like they did early on. And you see right here, just trying to stop the freight train that is Roseboro, and she took the fall.
And Roseboro feeling the defensive pressure there, kind of instigating that defensive contact and drawing the foul. I think she understands how important it is for UMHB to get into the bonus, and we said that she needed to come alive here in the second half, and I think she has answered that call.
Getting her own miss, dealing with the contact, and banking it home is Ariana Roseboro. She'll try to complete this three-point play and tie things up at 49. She is up to 8 points, can make it 9, and she also has 9 rebounds. So through it all, Roseboro could end up with a double-double, but that one does bounce out for her. So the lead still is 1 for Puget Sound. Adelke very far from the basket, not sure that's where she wants to be. Now it's out to Patinia Hillier. Posting up is Reverman. She's going to be fouled before the shot. She got great position there, did Reverman. Reverman started so efficiently today, 4 for 8, 8 points, and we have not seen a shot in this second half. Caitlin Brooks checks back in for Adelke. So Adelke with just 3 points today. There is Reverman, rejected by Fox. And so you look at Fox, you look at Roseboro, they're really helping their team win even when their shots aren't falling. Whether it's a rebound like Roseboro gets there, puts it back up, can't get it to go, but the effort really is there for Ariana Roseboro.
Roseboro's at the top of the key when that shot went up and then grabbed it on the low block for the rebound. That's incredible.
Now playing solid defense, but Nilsson able to spin past her, put a shot up, but it won't fall. And now Roseboro has 3 on 2. Roseboro takes it herself, puts it down, and count it. Ariana Roseboro taking over in this fourth quarter.
And we mentioned she was able to draw contact on the open floor moments ago. She's got a really good knack for knowing where the defender is, getting just enough of that contact, and this one now leading to an and one. Fantastic second half here for Roseboro.
And I asked Coach Moorfield about Roseboro before this week, saying what makes her so special and what have you seen from her growing from that Rookie of the Year campaign? And he said she has grown and diversified to become much more than just a scorer, and we are seeing that today. She officially has a double-double. She had her first double-double of her career against Sul Ross just a couple of games ago, and now a second for her. And she is helping her team here in the fourth quarter up by 1, and they'll have a free throw coming out after the media timeout. It is anybody's game here in San Antonio, what continues to be just a stellar week of basketball. And Josh, you and I talked a little bit about it earlier, how much we love having teams that we're not used to seeing, like UMHB we're familiar with, maybe some would say too familiar with in some sports. But Puget Sound we don't see all that often. I mean, yes, our volleyball team did beat them in the NCAA playoffs this year, but we don't have them down here very much. And their mascot, the Logger, is a pretty unique one. Haven't heard that down here.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have the scenery that they have back up in the Great Northwest.
Definitely safe to say that. So always love looking up the mascot history, and they've got a pretty cool story, but you're not going to get it tonight, folks. I'm going to do it again. You have to tune in tomorrow because Puget Sound isn't going anywhere. They are coming right back here to Calgar Gym, and they are going to face the Trinity Tigers right here on Tiger Network. And so to make you tune in tomorrow, I'm going to keep that story about why they're the Loggers, keep some other stories too about why they're called Puget Sound and where they come from. And so we are just getting started with action on Tiger Network, even though this is the third game of the week. We've still got 3 games tomorrow, a game on Thursday. So if you like basketball, we have it for you. Roseboro back at the line. Can't complete the three-point play, and the rebound goes to Reverman. UMHB clinging to a 1-point lead with 6 minutes to go. Swartout thought about it. Instead gets it to Nilsson, who has the size advantage on Roseboro, backing her down, spinning right, putting it up, but it can't fall. Now the tip, though, goes to Nilsson, and we'll do it again. And Chetta to an open Swartout. Can she hit? No. Trying to tip it again, and Chetta will be a jump ball. And the ball going to UMHB. So the looks have been good for Puget Sound, but they are not hitting now a 2.5-minute scoring drought.
Yeah. Nilsson, tallest player on the court and running everything as if she's the point guard. It's just a tough day shooting-wise, 2 of 7 as she heads to the bench for a break here. I'm sure she'll be back in the final 5 minutes, at some point, but just 2 of 8 now, or 2 of 7 from the game, and just can't get the shots to fall tonight, but kind of showing it there that she's able to control the ball. Maybe trying to take over a little bit the way that Roseboro has the last few minutes, and see what they can do down the stretch. Don't know if Puget Sound necessarily needs that out of her, but nice block there from Fox. And UMHB will be shooting free throws down the other way.
Well, that is already 5 fouls on Puget Sound in the quarter, so you are correct. They will be shooting the rest of the way. A big development for UMHB.
Yeah. And I think this kind of goes back, I mentioned it when it happened, Roseboro drawing that contact early on. And you might look at it and be like, oh, it was open, full, or foul, didn't really change the game. Changes the game here, because now with 5 minutes to play, UMHB able to take some free throws. If they can, capitalize a little bit, maybe shoot a little bit better than the 61% that they're shooting right now, that'll help them as we draw near the end of the contest.
That is the key question, though, Josh. Can they capitalize? They have not yet today, and they are 8th in the conference, shooting just 63% from the line, and they split the trip there. So the lead is 2. But if they're going to want to win this game, you have to believe it will come from the line. Since they are in the bonus, Swartout taking Adelke to the rim, now having to look for help. Half the clock gone for Anchetta, and she'll give it to Patinia Hillier. Patinia Hillier going up the bigger Brooks. The shot up, but rebounded by Cortez. So Patinia Hillier struggling in this second half. Trying to recover on defense. It'll be Kenna Gibson out to Peyton Hicks. Saw that call. They traveled before. Coach Kushiyama wanted it this time, but instead a blocking foul.
I think what he really wanted, and we have such a tough angle to see it there, was the step out of bounds. I think he thought she stepped out of bounds. And we've seen that call plenty here in the first 2+ games since coming back from finals, but it'll be Hicks to the line to shoot 2. Mathematically, if you look at it, they're shooting 60% from the foul line, or just under. And they're only shooting 40% from the floor. So if you think about it, if they come down and only shoot 56% every time they shoot free throws, they're still scoring more than they would be if they put up field goals, right? And no, basketball doesn't work that way. But it is kind of interesting to think about, if you're a coach, what do you want? Do you want to shoot from the foul line, or do you want to – obviously, their answer is just, I want to make shots. I don't care where they come from. But from the standpoint of the team, maybe they might have a bit slight of advantage just shooting free throws the rest of the way.
Well, they didn't have an advantage at the line there, but Adelke says, I'll take care of that. Thank you very much on the offensive board, and putting it back up for 2. So the lead growing to 4. UMHB has not had this big a lead in a while. Can they hang on to it, or will Puget Sound answer? Nilsson running the point. Minahan, lots of room to work with, and she banks it home. Minahan has been quiet. In fact, that's her first field goal today.
Yeah, 6 points, 4 of 4 from the free throw line.
And
a big miss, and I think they're going to get over the back. Wow. A jump ball called. So I thought Adelke had gone all over the top of Nielsen, the official right there. So maybe Nielsen was already slightly bent over, and it just made it easy for that to look like. As I said, we're high above here, and the angle not necessarily perfect. We could see the whole floor, but only from one vantage point.
yeah, but Caitlin Brooks is going to want that one back. She did the hard part, got the defender to bite, then had an open lane to the rim, but just blew it. And now Puget Sound can get right back even or take the lead. Minahan to Brown. Nilsson trying to set the screen. Brown doesn't even need it, though, to get to the rim. And now a jump ball will head right back to UMHB. So both teams in the last two possessions, you look at Brown and Brooks, they did their job to get to where they want to get to, but they just haven't completed it. That time it was Brown who cut the corner and got around it, but then couldn't get the layup to go. Now she is riding Roseboro down the court. Fox from the free throw line. Ripped away by Kennedy Brown, and here come the Loggers. Brown going up against Fox, going right to the same spot. DeSella puts it out. Nilsson deep, short, and it ends up in the hands of Fox. Which team can finish? That time it's UMHB. Peyton Hicks. Bucket and the foul for number 14. And who had the perfect pass? You guessed it, Ariana Roseboro. Nilsson heading to the bench now with 5 fouls, so that'll be her night. 5 points on 2 of 8 shooting, hitting 1 3. Did have 4 of 6 and 6 rebounds, but not the scoring that we typically see from the junior from Alameda, California. With 2:39 to go, UMHB up 4, and Hicks a chance to make it 5. Jim goes quiet. Ball rolls out, and Adelke wins it again for her team. So the theme of the night for UMHB, the three-headed monster of Adelke, Fox, and Roseboro. The points haven't been there, but the effort and the contributions elsewhere have been. And Adelke on the last 2 boards has been huge. Now she's trying to get in the lane. Will draw the foul and head to the line. And UMHB showing a lot more of why they are ranked in the top 20 in this 4th quarter. And really in that 3rd quarter as well, it's been a much different half than they showed in that 2nd quarter. First free throw from Adelke, hits the rim and out. So the points are being left at the line for UMHB. There are so many positives for each team, but then there are so many negatives. You keep wanting to compliment their effort, and then they are unable to come through at the free throw line. It's just been a very interesting game for both teams, as Adelke does hit that 2nd free throw. So the lead up to 5 with Minahan and Puget Sound trying to make something happen. Patinia Hillier, nice fake, collects it and spins it in for 2. Patinia Hillier now up to 9, but that's her first bucket of the half. 3 defenders around Hicks. Roseboro out to Cortez. And now Hicks will reset. Surveying her options. It'll be Fox kicking it to Adelke, and she'll send it back out. No, she'll turn around, hit it herself. Uday Adelke coming through in the 4th quarter. Minahan blowing past Fox, and a nice layup for her. And these teams now going back and forth in the final 2 minutes.
A lot of great pressure here from Puget Sound, but Cortez unfazed.
Screen for Hicks. Cortez has it back now. Shot clock under 10. Fox very far from the basket. Hicks having to make a decision. Not what she wanted, and now they've got a runner open for the layup. Has to finish here, and Kennedy Brown is not going to miss that one. It is a 1-point game. 1 minute to go in San Antonio. UMHB 58, Puget Sound 57, and Roseboro nearly didn't see that pass. Lots of contact there. Roseboro taking it in, floating it up, gonna rim out, and Puget Sound can take the lead. And Chetta has it. Will she take it? No, she'll kick it to Sword out, and off on the three. Nearly had it, and now a foul. Or a timeout is going to be the decision. The foul was going to be there, but Coach Moorfield getting the timeout first. What a final few seconds we have in store, and what a last couple of minutes it has been, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, that was 90 seconds to 2 minutes of just great back and forth for both teams. You know, a lot of people, UMHB side especially, you know, a lot of contact there. I felt like where the pace of the game was going, I don't know if you were going to get some of those calls. The one at the rim, a little curious we didn't see the call. I think we've seen that here tonight. But a couple of looks here at those last 2 minutes plus. Just fantastic back and forth all the way around, especially the push out forward by Kennedy Brown. I think you mentioned it. Have to make that shot right there all alone. Sometimes that can be the hardest shot in basketball is the wide open layup sometimes when you're overthinking it, and she did a good job just putting it down. That brought it to within the one here. I'd expect to see the full court press here from Puget Sound because if you give up a quick basket, you're still, as long as it's not a three, you're still within one shot of tying the game, sending it to overtime. But at the same time, you know, this was a 5-point game for UMHB moments ago. And in some respects, you know, they're kind of on a scoring drought, even though, you know, it hasn't been long enough to actually see a drought, you know, develop. But some fantastic turnabout here for UMHB, and the timeout going to advance it here on the women's side. It doesn't in the men's, but will for the women's game.
So now the question I have, if you're Puget Sound, do you foul considering how badly UMHB has shot it from the line, or do you let this clock wind down to single digits? So far they're playing it out. Roseboro with the ball, driving, putting it up, rolls off the rim, and now a timeout for Puget Sound. Coach Kushiyama was all over that one. 19.4 seconds to go, and Puget Sound will have possession with a chance to take the lead.
It's easy to answer this after the fact and knowing what we know, right? But I do think that was a great call to not necessarily make the foul call. You know, I wouldn't have said anybody would criticize him if he had decided to foul and send them to the line. But I think what you do is you establish the faith in your team that they can make that defensive stop, because they've made it the last 3 trips down the floor. And so, you know, just the confidence to go back to it and say, like, hey, you guys have done this the last 3 times. I think you can do it again. You know, and they forced Roseboro into a shot that I think she could have, you know, easily knocked down. Still would have been a 1-basket game. But now you've got a chance to go down, final 19 seconds. You know, if you want it, run it all the way down and make sure you've got the last shot, win or lose, but you're not going to get beat, you know, on a prayer the other way. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with here. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get the shot in early. I think that they can rely on their defense. One thing that I would be a little worried about is any foul is going to send Hardin-Baylor to the line for 2. So if you leave them with time, you have to make sure you do not foul. And that's assuming that UPS would take the lead. But, you know, one point game here, I think you've got to like the chances of UPS to be able to run through an offensive set. They've got 19 seconds, so basically kind of a full shot clock by the time you would bring the ball across midcourt and go into an offensive set and see what they can pull out.
And Chetta will be the inbounder, gets it to Minahan. Minahan one-on-one with Roseboro, backs her down. The shot is blocked, but they get it back. 12 seconds now on the clock, and Chetta backing it out. Screen by Sword out. Minahan in the corner. 5 seconds left. They have to put it up. Patinia Hillier has a great look. It's going to fall! And with 0.1 left, Puget Sound is on top by 1.
And there's nothing that can happen here. It's too less time.
Grace Patinia-Hillier gets the game winner for Puget Sound, and the Loggers take this one from Mary Hardin-Baylor. What a win for Puget Sound, coming down from the Pacific Northwest into the Lone Star State and taking down one of the big dogs of Texas, 59-58 Puget Sound. And you look at the replay here, Grace Patinia-Hillier was a key throughout. She struggled in the second half, but all alone in the paint, the floater in for the win. Wow, Josh.
Well, and yeah, I've got no words. Puget Sound working their way back. I felt that Mary Hardin-Baylor, this is going to be a tough one for them from the standpoint of I felt like they had established the early lead early on and kind of held on to it. They went back and forth, the lead changes and whatnot, but they played so well in the second half. And it just didn't come together in the final 2 minutes of this one. Their offense just couldn't find a bucket late, and that was pretty much a big deal. They had gotten a 5-point lead. I didn't feel like 5 was just enough. I think, 6 or 7 starts to become that number where you can say, like, okay, 2 minutes to go. You feel a little bit more comfortable, but not necessarily out of, the safety realm of everything. But just unbelievable job by Puget Sound to, those final 60 seconds really to just kind of take control again. I'm sure UMHB fans will look at certain plays and say, like, this one was the one that, if we could get this one down, I think we're in good shape. But I think it was just a fantastic game, and we were treated to 2 one-point games here, and just fantastic play by all 4 teams that we saw, but especially in this game. Really had no idea who was going to win this game. Even as she floated that one up, I'm just like, I didn't think that she could get that to fall with the amount of time that she was really looking at. So great clock awareness and fantastic job for the Loggers. They've got a pretty big challenge tomorrow with Trinity. And UMHB dropping these 2 games here, it's going to hurt now, but I think that's going to make that team stronger. They're a pretty solid group. The resiliency of what we saw, especially for Roseboro, kind of taking over. She's a young player. As she develops that, she's going to be a force, look like the type of player that we might see as an All-American at some point. The losses can be hard at times, but if you can build upon them, there's, great things ahead for them.
I just keep thinking back to Casey Kushiyama, the head coach for Puget Sound, being so honest about how he truly felt like his team was the underdog coming into this week against UMHB, against Trinity. And these are his words, not mine. He said his team are a collection of underdogs. They were called too slow, too short, too fill in the blank, as he put it. Always an excuse to be overlooked and under-recruited, but they ended up on his team. And he has said that he is just so happy to see it all come to fruition for them, and it came to fruition here against Mary Hardin-Baylor. And now what I can't stop thinking about is how excited I am to see this same team go up against the Trinity Tigers that we are so familiar with, a team ranked 3rd in the country, a team that is 10-0, a real Final Four contender in the eyes of everybody who has seen them. And now they get to go against a Puget Sound team that is riding quite the wave. And we have it for you on Tiger Network at 1 p.m. Will you be here, Josh?
I will be here. I hope you will be as well. We'll close it out. Roseboro finishes with 10 points and 11 boards, the double-double. She also had 3 assists, and put an asterisk on all 3 of those because they were all spectacular assists. 8 points and 6 points and 8 boards for Ashley Fox, and Adelke with 8 points, 6 boards for herself, 6 assists for Lauren Baker. And then when you go over to the Puget Sound side of things, it just, Swartout was phenomenal at times from beyond the arc, hitting 2 big threes, and kind of going forward from there. She's got 12 points. Kennedy Brown finishes with 10, 11 for Patinia Hillier, and, of course, the 2 at the very end, just unbelievable.
Unbelievable indeed. But believe it, Logger fans, you beat Mary Hardin-Baylor here in San Antonio. And it'll be a quick turnaround. 1 p.m., the tip-off between Trinity and Puget Sound. Then the men's team for Trinity against Geneva at 3. And Southwestern against Stevens Point at 5 p.m. tomorrow. A triple header on Tiger Network. We'll be here for it. We hope you are as well. Thank you to everyone that manned the cameras, manned the control room to allow this to happen. Thank you, Josh, for joining me today. For Josh Muchigemba, I'm Brian Yanselson, and have a terrific Tuesday night.
I'm San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg. I am a Trinity University alum, and I want you to know about my passion for these two vibrant communities. My alma mater is now a nationally recognized liberal arts university, offering fully integrated arts, humanities, STEM, and professional programs. Grounded in the liberal arts, Trinity graduates students who think critically, act meaningfully, and contribute confidently throughout their careers. As for San Antonio, Trinity is an oasis in the heart of a city that serves as a cultural bridge to the Americas. We are a diverse community that values inclusion and welcomes intellectual curiosity and spirited debate. We're a city that challenges convention and welcomes new ideas. Great things are happening at Trinity University, in San Antonio, and through all our connections to our multicultural world. Join me in being part of this exciting moment.